Was it the voice? Was it the fire burning in me? All of the noise turned into choirs of harmony. Left me with the pieces of forever that you broke. But since you left me alone, I've been high.
Hello friends, welcome back to another video, or if you are new here, welcome. The seasons are finally starting to change here. I'm so excited that it is officially fall now. Even though it doesn't really feel so much like fall outside, we are still in the upper 80s to 90 degrees, so it is still very warm. However, I know those winter days are going to be here before we know it, so we're going to spend the day working on some projects outside, getting the porches cleaned off, starting on some yard work, just getting the stuff turned over for fall and getting ready for the months ahead. We still have quite a bit to do outside, so there will be plenty more videos for us to do the rest of them, but right now I'm going to start with bagels. This is something that I have done bagels for a while, but I've recently started getting back into them. And before, when I would make them, I would use sourdough, and I love that. However, the process is a lot longer for sourdough, so I have been using yeast. And I really like this recipe because it comes together so quickly, and for me lately that's kind of just what I need. So I work with sourdough when I have more time, but when I don't, I do switch over to yeast. So these are yeast bagels, and I haven't noticed much of a difference. They taste almost exactly the same as the sourdough bagels I make. But I have been enjoying making these and then putting them in the freezer. We like using these for buns, for bread, for sandwiches, for mini pizzas. We like them for breakfast, but I love how they're so versatile and you can use them for so many different things. I often spend the fall getting ready for the winter months. We don't have a very huge winter. However, the ice storms really impact us and they shut down our entire city. We are in the Ozark Mountain region, and so a lot of our roads are very narrow. They are up hills and winding roads, so they're really not drivable whenever we get into the winter months. However, we have a long time until that, which is nice, but I like spending these fall days preparing for the months ahead. So I like getting as much as I can into the freezer. I like stocking up on different meats, just getting ready for when we're not able to always get out. And also we like kind of staying at home a lot more during the winter and just cozying up by the fire. So I like to stock up and be ready for those months ahead. So this is one of the first steps for that, is stocking up and really getting bagels and all kinds of stuff going in the freezer. If you are at all interested in this bagel recipe, I'll have it listed down below in the description box if you're wanting to make it for yourself. I think the biggest difference with these bagels compared to the sourdough ones, which is obviously we're using yeast compared to the sourdough, but there is only one rise with this, and the sourdough bagels, they had a couple different rises. So I do like how I only have to do one rise with these. It, like I said, it goes by so much quicker. It is a lot easier when you have a full family that is waiting on you to do different things and you have a lot going on. So it is very nice to only have that one rise, and during that it's a pretty short rise because these rise pretty quickly. So during that rise you can do a lot of other things as well. I made these into everything bagels, so they have boiled. I did an egg wash and then I put them in the oven with just a everything bagel mixture that I put together, and then you bake them until they start to brown, pull them out, and I'm going to pop them in the freezer once they cool down. I'm now going to start working on getting the porch kind of tidied up and back together. It is full of leaves. It's very dusty and dirty because during these summer months, our front porch, I mean, we're all in sun, but during the first half of the day, it is unbearable sun. So you can tell it's like shining on the porch right now. And so we don't often sit out here. It is just way too hot. We like sitting out under the pergola in the evening, even though the sun is out that way, but we have like a shade that is a lot nicer to sit under. And we also have a fan. So it can be really unbearable to sit out here, and so this area tends to get neglected. And as you can see, my cushions, they're filled with water, which I'm kind of angry about because I spent quite a bit of money on these. I think they're like 2 years old maybe, but they're supposed to be waterproof and they're not supposed to hold water. And for the longest time, just the one cushion was holding water, but now both of them are holding water. And so every time it rains, if we don't happen to remember to bring these cushions in, which recently that's kind of been the case, but we have to drain them out by putting them on their side over in a different area that has more like drainage. But it's just, I don't get it. I spent so much money on each one of those and they're not even waterproof at all. So kind of drives me crazy. I work best whenever I kind of work with a clean slate. So that is why you're seeing me move the furniture. This is a narrow area. So I try to, whenever I'm doing more of a deeper clean, I like to get everything out of the area so I can wipe it all down and then also sweep under everything and not have to have all these obstacles. So I do best whenever I clear everything out, and then I'll put it all back whenever I'm done cleaning. Our front porch is one of my favorite areas of the house. I absolutely love the terracotta flooring on this part. I love how when you're sitting down, you can see a completely different view than if you were sitting out back. And I love how our house is like that, where in the front, we're a lot higher up and we can see like over the trees. There's mountains in the back. You can see a lot of fog from a lake that's in the distance. And I love being able to sit down out here and see that view. And then like I said, it's a completely different view than what you get anywhere else in the house or around the house. So I just love that. But it's such a narrow area that I don't really know what to do with it. Like we had rockers out here before, but they were so large that they really didn't fit in the area well. So I don't really know what to do. I kind of maneuver every now and then. I'll maneuver different furniture in this area and switch it up a little bit, but I am really stumped with this area because it's so thin. There are a lot of windows. I'm showing you right here. This is, do you remember a couple months back, I was talking about how the squirrels were eating this like farm birdhouse? That was some of the remnants that I either left behind or they were continuing to eat after I had cleaned up everything. But they are just wild here. I put out bird food in a bunch of different birdhouses and stuff, and they were eating all of it and making a huge mess in this one birdhouse. So I stopped putting the food in this birdhouse, and then they started eating the birdhouse. So I'm just completely ignoring this birdhouse, making it as it's just like a decoration or something. And now they're leaving it alone, but for the longest time they were eating this like plastic barn birdhouse. So anyway, that's why it's over there and why it had some weird remnants underneath. But anyway, I don't really know what to do with this area. And I've tried looking on various different things like Pinterest and Google and trying to come up with ideas. However, I have never found anything at all really that helps. So if you have like a narrow balcony. How do you decorate it? Because, and not necessarily decorating, but arrange with furniture. I tend to not really decorate this area, just because, like I said, this window right here is the big window that goes to the kitchen. So I don't really want to clutter it full of things. And then there's sliding doors, and then the large bay window that goes to the living room. So it's completely covered in windows, and I don't really want to block them, but I have no idea how to ever arrange stuff. We at one point had a bench up here, and that just felt really, really crowded. So I don't know. And I tend to put a lot of plants up here too. And as we're closing down the garden and getting stuff out of like the back and stuff, I will actually move it usually up front on the porch, because this sunlight is not as harsh as it is in the back. So a lot of my plants thrive up here and will have a home up here until it gets a little too cold for them outside, and then I'll move them inside. But anyway, if you have any suggestions on how I can, and you can see like here, it's kind of an odd shape. It gets a little bit more room in this area, but then it thins out in front of the window and then it opens up again. I don't know, I'm just very confused by this whole thing. Another thing I try to avoid is any furniture that is up against the rail on the left hand side, because it is a balcony. So we're on the second story of our house here, and I'm just terrified of any kid or anyone jumping up on any of the furniture and then falling over. So I try to avoid anything in front of the railing unless it's like a plant. But if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. Okay, so if you have been here a while, you know my ranting and raving about the windows, and I am sorry, but I cannot avoid it this time either. So you see me cleaning the windows because I always have to clean the windows. I can usually avoid doing the outside portion a lot longer than the inside portion, because if you're new here, I have 4 kids, we have animals, and my kids and animals cannot leave the windows alone. It is one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm so close to just giving up with the whole window task. So outside, while I'm working on it on the front porch, I often will wash the windows on the outside, just giving them a really quick wipe down, and that is usually just fine. They accumulate dust, and we have a bird feeder on the other window, so that kind of accumulates some debris from the bird food, but I don't have to do them as often as I have to do inside. So my whole rant and rave this time about the windows. So you see me cleaning the windows. Literally just a couple hours later, my kids had friends over. The younger 2 boys, they had friends over, and the friends were up against they would come up here and they would put their hands and face up against all of these windows that I just cleaned. And I'm just like, I can't for the life of me keep these windows clean. It is a magnet. I literally just cleaned them, and I swear I say it a million times on my channel that every time I clean these windows, it's like a magnet for the little kids to put their face and hands all over. And I feel like it's shocking to me because I never did that as a kid, and I don't remember my brothers doing that. And so it's just, I don't know, it's so hilarious to me that like I literally cannot wash my windows because I'm telling you, like, it's so bad. I don't know if it's ever been this bad to where I have to actually go wash my windows again, because I don't think I can live with the amount of fingerprints and face prints all over. And it's like all of the windows, they hit every single window. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, who does that? Why are kids such a magnet to that? Does anybody else have this problem? Is it literally just me? Are my windows the only magnet? Maybe I have some, magnetic windows for children and pets. I don't know. Anyway, but I feel like I am going to forever have this, obviously, I guess I would hope that my adult children don't come back and put their face and fingerprints on the windows, but at this point I'm really starting to question it. So I might just give up if I can. I say this constantly though. If you are a follower, you know that my constant battle is with these windows and the children and stuff. And I should have taken, you know what, they're still there. So maybe I will actually show you how bad it is. This is the one I'm using. Can you see it? We opened it upside down, so it's kind of hard, but it is the Cardinal and Songbird mix, Feeding Frenzy. So I usually will let the boys pick out what food, and they like to look at the back of the packages to see what birds it feeds, and that's usually what they base it off of, what birds they want to feed, what birds they want to see. Just gonna refill this. And then it is really warm out here today, like 80 something degrees. I think it's supposed to be close to 90. So I'm gonna finish this up and then probably head to the front porch and then probably head back inside because it is hot. We still have quite a few birds that visit our feeders. We have a bunch of different feeders throughout the yard, and then we have quite a bit of hummingbirds that still visit our hummingbird feeders too. They are starting to slow down, but still quite a bit are visiting them, which I love. The boys and I, we like sitting out here. There's a feeder just over the railing here, and we like to sit out front, and if we are quiet enough, they will still come and visit the feeder, and they come in swarms. So it is really neat to sit there and watch. I have the front porch all cleaned up now, and I feel a lot better about that. I also put out a comforter over the railing. That is my favorite way to dry them. It's so quick, and I love not having to do the dryer. So I have that. I'm gonna head inside and start a pot going for some chicken bone broth. I am wanting to do a recipe. So this is a rotisserie chicken that I got, and we didn't use all of it. So I take most of the chicken off the bone and I set it aside. I'm going to use it a little later in the same recipe. And then I have the bones and whatever meat that I did not take off going. I'll have that simmering low and slow for the remainder of the day. And then I'm going to make a soup that is from like a little mom and pop restaurant back in Chicago. We used to frequent this restaurant all the time, and I can't find anything comparable. And for some reason the other day it just popped into my head that this one soup that they make, it is a lemon chicken rice soup. It is like nothing else that I have had before, and I've never made it. And for some reason it just popped into my head the other day, like that would be really good. I recently found out though that they closed, and which is kind of sad because it was such a huge restaurant back when we lived there. So we always gathered there. I know so many other families did as well. So it's a little sad that they have closed, but I'm pretty excited because I've been working on the recipe that is like a copycat version of their soup, and I'm pretty sure I've got it like down, and it's so easy. So anyway, I'm starting the bone broth for that, and I'm gonna let it go all day really low and slow to get all those flavors, and it turns out amazing. So we are now back outside, and I am just kind of monitoring the situation. So these bushes are huge. I cut them not that long ago, and I've actually cut them since I taped me cutting them not that long ago, and they just grow so quickly. And I love them. I was really hesitant about cutting them, but it's kind of interfering with this walk path right here. So we decided to cut most of the area by the fence here, and then we're leaving the stuff outside of the fence. while I've been inside starting the soup and working on the front porch, Kyle's been back here kind of reorganizing and getting this whole area tidied up. We moved the fire pit back here and kind of just rearranged things and cleaned up, and the space feels so much nicer. So we're gonna have a fire a little later this evening, and it was so relaxing and so much needed. But now I am back in the house and I am working on this soup recipe. So like I said, this was one of the first times that I was making this soup, and I was really just trying to mimic the flavor and mimic this soup from this mom and pop restaurant that I remember having like 5 years ago. So I am very excited that I nailed it, but I am somewhat still working on the exact recipe. So you'll have to bear with me if you're wanting to try this, because I don't have much of a recipe, so it is a little hard to explain. What I did is I am creating a cream of chicken first, because I knew that the soup, that was basically the base. I knew that it was basically a cream of chicken, but that they added a small amount of rice, a small amount of chicken, and a small amount of lemon. So I knew that I was starting with a cream of chicken, and that is what I'm making here. So down below in the description box, if you're wanting to try this, I will be putting the cream of chicken recipe down below, so you can follow that. And then as far as the other ingredients, it's really just slowly putting those in. So I am slowly thickening the soup. I put in some flour with some butter, and I'm slowly adding in the chicken bone broth that I made. You will see in the recipe, it's again with the evaporated milk. I love using evaporated milk in soup recipes, so that is what I'm using here. The recipe, though, it does call for heavy cream, I think it is. So you can use either one. The evaporated milk, it always works out perfectly in soups, and I like using it because it's just, you don't have to worry about it curdling or anything like that. So I always kind of reach for that, and usually I have some in the pantry. But if you're wanting to use heavy cream, you could do that as well. I do go in a little later and add in some milk because I'm doubling the recipe. So basically it is following the cream of chicken recipe, and then bringing it to a thickness that you're wanting. It will thicken up also as it cools down. So I was slowly adding in liquid and getting it to the consistency that I was wanting. Once I achieved that, I then went in and I added the juice of 1 lemon, and then I also added the zest of that 1 lemon, and then I will add in about a cup of the chicken that I deboned, and then about half a cup of pre-cooked rice. So I put all that in, mixed it together, and I'm assuming you can do the rice in the pot, but because I was still in experiment mode here, I really was trying to make sure that I wasn't adding, too much starch, and that it was, I wanted to make sure that I was getting the flavor right. So the whole soup is basically just trying to get the consistency how you're wanting it. And like I said, it does really thicken up. So I was slowly adding in the stock, I was slowly adding in the milk, and I did end up doubling this. So I nailed it. I was so excited that I recreated one of our family's favorite soups from this restaurant that is no longer available. I'm super excited about it, but it is still kind of in the experimental phase. Like, I think I got it down. I just need to make sure that I have the recipe written down next time I go through it. So I will be working on that, but just know that I will have the cream of chicken recipe down below, and it's really just about getting the consistency correct. And then once you get that, just adding those flavors in, and I'll also include what I did as far as the lemon and chicken and rice. But anyway, we are moving back outside to what the boys have started working on while I was doing the soup. This is a shade that I don't know what they're even called, but we had a couple of these shades for like 4 years now. We used to have a golf shop, and these were what were in the front window of the golf shop, and they are kind of custom sized, so we have not really found any place that we could use them. However, I kind of came across the idea, well, we should put it in front of our door out back by the pool, only because while we're eating dinner, we have like the sun shines directly on me and my son, and usually Theo too, so it is kind of unbearable sometimes. So this is our dining area. It is not really meant to do any other purpose other than shading it while we eat, because we have not had any like shades that we found. We've had a couple different ones, but none of them have really worked. So we put that up, and I'm really excited because it actually works to block out the sun in that area. And then also it fully retracts, so it is not in anybody's way walking in and out of the door, which I absolutely love. But here we are outside. We started a fire, and we're going to just enjoy some family time out back. And after a long day of doing a bunch of random tasks and stuff around the house, it was so nice to sit out back here and just be able to enjoy everybody's company. So anyway, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Places, feel it sinking in. Lonely faces, say you need a friend. No matter the distance, I will always be there. No more inhibition, I'll show you I care. You've been lost and alone in the city. Getting high, feeling low, and it's out of your control. You should know that I want